working.
And we're live. Welcome back to another Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Hey, I don't know about you, but after watching that presidential debate, I decided to forget it. I ain't living in Costa Rica no more. I'm in Louisiana. Forget it. Trump needs help. Go over there and turn that off. No, actually, I could care less either way about the presidential debate. One of the reasons we absolutely love Costa Rica is because, you know what, it really doesn't matter what's going on in the rest of the world. We still have that bit of freedom. We still have the ability to just kind of do what we want to do. You know, hey, I think a lot of the reasons of people that are going to Costa Rica is because, hey, they are still looking for that freedom. You know, there's countries where if you have a chicken in your yard, you don't register that chicken with the Department of Health or whomever, you could be 6 months in jail. Ridiculous stuff like that. Well, today, you know, Rebecca and I are actually in Louisiana. We're back in our old stomping grounds, and I'm over here at my brother's house. He's got a beautiful, beautiful place. But hey, there's just a few reasons why you have to go back to your home country, and we're going to be talking about some of those today. But hey, before we get started, I wonder, where is Rebecca? Well, there she is. What's been happening on the off-grid homestead?
Not a thing.
Nothing. But we sure have been enjoying living in that upstairs loft. So this last week, really, we've been, you know, we knew that we had to come to Louisiana. So we've been busy, you know, catching up on future work and doing what we needed to do in order to prepare for our trip here. You know, I had to go and inspect that house, make sure everything was looking good, and make sure everything was prepared, you know, this week so that, hey, it's just a real quick trip. Come up here, do what we got to do, and get back. But, hey, that brings us to what we're talking about. You know, while life in Costa Rica can be really, really awesome, there's always going to be things that will be, you know, a continual hassle. But it's like we always say, focus on the positive. But there are some things that sometimes can be deal breakers for people. We won't be talking about those, but there are reasons that, hey, you just have to go back to your home country. For example, why are we here this week?
Renew our driver's license.
Absolutely. You see, in Costa Rica, while you can drive with your driver's license, it can be expired. And both of ours are about to expire. So we have to go in Louisiana and make a trip to renew them. Now, you know, some states and maybe some countries, you can renew it online. And in our case, Louisiana will actually mail you sometimes, not always, but they'll mail you an envelope. And then you can renew it with that envelope. You got to do a couple of little steps, but then you put that sticker on the back of your license, and then you don't have to go into the DMV, right? But for us, we didn't get that anyway. We needed to just make a quick trip and get that. So we're going to talk about some things today as to, hey, you know, while Costa Rica is super wonderful, it's missing a lot of stuff, you know, stuff that we are, and probably you are used to having. What are some of those things? And you know what? We're going to be talking toward the very end. Should you even go back? Because there's a dangerous thing that happens, I think. Now, I don't have, this is just theory. I don't have any proof on this, but I know it happens to me almost every time. There's a dangerous thing that happens when you go back to the United States after living, or maybe back to your home country, after living in Costa Rica a while. There's a dangerous thing that happens that could cause you not to go back to Costa Rica. I'll talk about that later. But anyway, we are getting our driver's license. So, hey, kudos out to everybody. Make sure that you please help us out and hit that chat box. Before we get started, though, if this is your first time here, well, I'm Alan. This is my wonderful co-host, Rebecca. And, you know, we've been living in Costa Rica since November 2013. So we've been over 10 years. We lived in 25 different locations and houses. We practically have lived almost everywhere in Costa Rica. And we just share life in Costa Rica from our perspective. Matter of fact, it's the only channel in Costa Rica about Costa Rica that's going to give you the unbridled truth about living in Costa Rica. And that's simply because, number one, we're unbiased. Number two, well, we don't have an ulterior motive. In other words, we don't have a product or service to sell. We're not trying to sell you Costa Rica. Now, other people copy what we say. It ain't true. I've proved it. They're trying to sell you Costa Rica because they want you to buy their product or service. Okay? They're not honest people. And so you do have to be careful about that. Now, is that everybody? Obviously not. Okay? But hey, you know, one thing is for certain. We don't have anything to sell. Everything is for free. But hey, if you want to get a hold of us, because, you know, time is money. You need questions answered. There's 3 ways you can do it. Join us always live every Sunday. Join us Sunday. You can get your answers live. You know, get them answered live in the comments. Post your questions. We try to answer all these questions. Hey, can't make the live? Well, you can always join our members only area. $10 a month. Join the members only area. And hey, I'm in there all the time answering questions. Or third, you can schedule a phone consultation. People schedule phone consultations all the time. And that way, you know, they can have an hour, they can have 30 minutes, they can have the time they need to talk and say, hey, look, I need you to help me with a game plan to get to Costa Rica. You know, I'm smart enough. I don't need hand-holding to move to Costa Rica. Some people like that, okay? If you do, there's nothing wrong with that. Be very careful who you hire to do that, because some people just simply will, they're doing it just to rip you off, okay? So anyway, that's how you can get a hold of us, because we just love to just share our perspective and help you with a game plan, give you the answers you need so that you can make a smooth transition to Costa Rica. And then, hey, look, we just give you the hard, honest truth. You know, whenever I do relocation retreats, I've had people say, well, dang, Alan, after that, I don't know if I want to go to Costa Rica. And we're never trying to scare you away. What are we trying to do?
What is that thing I say? I'm not trying to scare you, trying to prepare you.
That's right.
Because
Rebecca,
if you know, if you are expecting it and prepared for it, then it won't catch you with, you know, off guard, or be something that you can't cope with, or don't want to cope with, don't want to deal with.
I mean, you can cope with pretty much anything, but hey, the truth is, you may not want to cope with it. It's like, nah, that's just not for me. I'll look somewhere else, and that's fine. And you've heard me say that a lot, but hey, Rebecca coined that phrase. She said, Alan, I said, you need to let people know, hey, not trying to scare you, trying to prepare you. Because if you know it could happen to you, then you'll know what to look out for, what to do so that you won't get conned, so you won't get ripped off. So that, hey, some things like having to go to the bank and it's a 2-hour waste, well, there's some workarounds, and we'll gladly share how you can work around those things. But if you don't know them, because people are trying to sell you Costa Rica, oh, it's wonderful. You're laying on a hammock. You're laying on a hammock. You're working on your laptop. Come on, people, let's get real. And that's what unbridled living in Costa Rica is all about.
However, I would hate for someone to not move to Costa Rica or not give it a try because of some of the things, you know, that we say. We have chosen to live there regardless of all the challenges, because the beauty and the just the lifestyle, the water, the people, all that makes up for any inconvenience. And it's really just inconveniences. But some people, like your brother that we're staying with while we're here for the few days, he would not live in Costa Rica.
He would
he
never,
don't care how
right?
beautiful it is. He doesn't care about that kind of stuff.
Well, let's pause a moment,
He
though.
would not live there.
I mean, take a look at his house. He has an absolutely beautiful house, and you can tell just from this little glimpse right here, okay? And you can build a beautiful house like this in Costa Rica. You know, highly suggest you have an inspector like me, somebody that can be on the ground making sure it is, because you can get a plastered covered poop on the ground situation but you can have a beautiful house, okay? They do build beautiful houses. It's hard to find those people, okay? But you take a look at what he's got. He's just one of these people that he likes his conveniences. And so he's just simply not going to put up with some of the ridiculous things that you got to put up with to enjoy, to live in Costa Rica. But at the same time, he doesn't enjoy the kind of things we enjoy. While I love my brother, he's a wonderful guy. We get along great. He's not the nature guy that we are, right?
Right.
So it's
his entertainment, the things that he gets pleasure from, or not the same. He enjoys the finer things, not the natural things.
Right. Matter of fact, he's very big into, he doesn't cook. He likes to go eat a whole lot. And yes, Eduardo, we've already had a chance to get some really, really good Southern foods,
We've been eating too good for 3 days now, and
already.
it is showing. It is already showing.
Hey, look, don't take long to gain weight when you're in Southern Louisiana.
Gosh.
You can definitely get some amazing, amazing good food in Costa Rica. So, folks, do us a favor. Always comment, chat. I'd like to hear from you. If you lived in Costa Rica, or if you already live in Costa Rica, what are some of the reasons why you must go back to the United States? So we're going to talk about some of those things. So, Rebecca, we're here. We got to get our driver's license. We got appointments tomorrow to get our driver's license because, while I'm on the whole driver's license topic, because I know some people are saying, well, hey, can't I drive with a Costa Rican license? Well, number one, maybe some of you know the answer. When can you get a Costa Rican driver's license? So if you know the answer, put that down in the chat box. When can you actually get, or when can you actually apply? When can you go get that Costa Rican driver's license? Because, while you're here as a tourist, the only way that you can drive in Costa Rica is if you have a bona fide driver's license from your country and it's not expired, okay? And you can drive legally. But, at some point in time, if you decide to live in Costa Rica, well, you're going to want to get a regular Costa Rican driver's license. But hey, folks, when can you actually get a Costa Rican driver's license? Because I know there's a bunch of bad information on YouTube about that, but I know the truth. When can you get a Costa Rican driver's license? Does anybody know the answer to that? And look, who's got their Allen's apple juice? Good hot day in Louisiana for that. Okay, so hey, it doesn't look like, and of course it might be a little lag here, but I don't think anyone knows the answer to that one. So it used to, in Costa Rica, used to you had to wait till you were a resident to actually get a driver license. But with the recent changes in law, whenever you apply, the moment you actually apply to become a resident in Costa Rica, in other words, I was trying to think of that word, but anyway, whenever you actually apply and immigrations know that you're applying for your residency, you don't even have to be approved. The moment you apply, then you can actually go to the Costa Rican DMV, the driver's license office, and you can get your Costa Rican driver's license. Now, I don't know how easy, how hard that is. Some places it's easier to go in and get it than others. It's kind of like the DMV in Louisiana. We need an appointment in Lake Charles because there's so many people. But you go to some of the smaller towns, not nearly as many people. You can just walk right in and get the stuff that you need, or go to some of these other offices and get your stuff. So in Costa Rica, very much the same way. Hey, you can get your driver's license. Now, I highly suggest, hey, if you get your Costa Rican driver's license, get it as soon as you can. So, hey, look, if you're thinking seriously about getting your residency, make sure you hit me up, because residency is one area where you can get conned big time. I know we got conned as soon as we got here. I mean, we started doing our research and we found this outfit, Costa Rican Immigration Expert, CRIE Costa Rica or something or another, okay? They look like a legitimate company. And hey, it looked legitimate. I'm sure they help a lot of people, but you know what? We paid over $4,000. So I'm telling you my experience. Paid over $4,000. 8 years later, the guy and his wife still didn't have our papers. And then he comes to see me at one of my relocation retreats wanting to speak. And I'm like, hey, what happened to my residency? Oh, we'll make it right. We'll make it right. If you're going to make it right, well, that's telling me you did it wrong to begin with. So, hey.
Well, the issue with that is that we did not actually qualify.
We didn't qualify, but he told us
that
he could get it
to qualify.
That's right. So it's like Doug said. He says, so it's when they acknowledge receipt of your application, absolutely. And so if you have the right attorney, make sure you contact me, okay? Because if you get the right attorney, as soon as they apply, you will get notification. Yes, we received your paperwork. Then you could immediately go to the driver's license office in Costa Rica and you can get it. So you want to be very, very careful in who you use. And I highly suggest do not use Glenn Teller and his wife Joanna with Costa Rican immigration experts, because hey, 8 years and we spent a lot of money. So you want to make sure you use the right people. Do your due diligence.
We were not retired, so we did not have a retirement income. We still don't. And you are required to have so much of an investment in land or a house, some type
there's
of
so
property,
it's really.
or you had to have a certain amount of money in the bank that you did not need to touch. And we didn't have those things. We didn't have that money saved.
And we knew that up front and told him that up front.
Yeah,
you know.
But they told
They
us
were
how
adamant. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. So we gave them all that money. Didn't happen, did it?
Yeah.
So, but now, like Eduardo says, he says, I've never had a problem with his driver's license in Costa Rica. And, but, you know, in 180 days, he claims he's going to get one. So maybe he's getting residency. But that's true. As long as you can drive with your license, but you know, it's only as good for as long as you're in Costa Rica. And so if you've got 180 days, as soon as that 180 days expires, then as soon as that 180 days expires, you have to stamp out. As soon as you stamp out of the country, stamp back in, then you're good to drive again.
As long as your driver's license is not expired in your country, which our Louisiana driver's license is about to expire on our birthdays in August and September.
So, yeah, so it can't be expired. So you can drive. And, of course, Doug says, is that guy giving you money back? No, he claims he didn't do anything wrong. And, hey, of course, I've got proof that he did everything wrong. I can show you all kind of proof. But anyway.
But that's one of the problems with Costa Rica. What is our possible recourse?
Yeah, and that's important for you to know. When you're in Costa Rica, it's easy. You know, Costa Rica attracts scumbags who will say one thing and do another, because you have absolutely zero recourse, okay? And, you know, I share my experience. Is the guy a liar? Is he a cheat? Is he a thief? I'm not saying none of those things. I'm sharing my experience. We paid money. He said he could do it, and he didn't do it. And we didn't know the law. I mean, it's not like he was saying, I'm going to do this thing for you. No. Oh, we can get you residency. Didn't happen. And so that happens a lot in Costa Rica, who people, you know, and now this is what I think actually happened. He knew we weren't going to get residency. It goes 8 years down the road. We never get residency. We can't go in and out of it. It's just a hassle. And so he just simply says, oh, you didn't qualify. Well, yeah, not only did we not qualify, but you stopped contacting with us or anything, and we knew you were never going to give that money back. So, no, unfortunately, when it's too easy for people to cheat you in Costa Rica, and that's why it's important. Hey, on this channel, I will tell it like it is, okay? And I've got proof to back up what I say. I don't lie about anybody, okay? If I got proof, I'll show you proof. And of course, you guys know that if you've been watching my channel. I'm not scared to show proof. I'm a policeman. I videotape. I get copies. I have proof of dishonest people. And I like to tell people and give people the proof so that you don't get cheated, okay?
You're not a policeman.
Well, I used to be a policeman. Okay, Rebecca wanted me to correct that. I'm not a policeman at the moment. I used to be a policeman when I was in the Marine Corps. So, hey, you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. Okay, now, and of course, Chatty says, is everyone getting 180 days upon entry into Costa Rica now? Absolutely. Right now, they're giving it away like candy, and I think that's because of the Costa Rican administration. They really are trying to make it easy for people to, they want more tourists. They want more tourists, and they're just really trying to make it easy for people. I think there's more to that whole thing. Because now with 180 days, it's almost like, do you really need residency? So there's kind of this big debate. Well, with 100 days, do you really need residency? In my opinion, I think you should, because if you're going to have a house and all that, it's always best. And you know what? We're going to eventually get residency. I'll probably just wait until I'm retired, and I'll retire in about 4 years, where I'm actually getting a check from the government. And when I got a check from the government saying I got at least $1,000 a month, it's really easy to retire. when you work, when you're young enough like us to be working, it's much more difficult to be a rentista. But if you've got 150,000 to invest in Costa Rica by buying a house or spending 150,000,
Or if you have $60,000 in the bank.
and that's a little bit different. 60,000 a bank as a rentista, but that's a big, that's a very confusing element because used to you put the 60,000 in a bank. Now they're saying you can't even put the 60,000 in a bank. You have to actually prove that you're getting money from a. I don't even want to go into all that.
Retired.
It shows that you're getting money that you're not earning. You can't have earned that money.
Right.
Okay,
and that's where our problem comes in. They want you to prove that your earnings are not dependent upon you working.
You're right.
So in our case, if we stop working, we don't have any income.
Yeah.
So that's a no-no.
Yeah.
With that.
So it's important that the source of that money is coming from something that you can prove. It's kind of like you would have some kind of investment, something, and that money just keeps coming in, and and it could be as simple as you have lease money that's coming in, and you have a signed contract that says, hey, these people are leasing your property. You're getting X number of dollars for the next 2 years, and it's proof that it's not earned income. So. And now, let's see here. Silver Turtle, who said hello from Hockman a while ago, said there's no need to pay big money for residencies. He says his lawyer quoted him $300, including all stamps and fees. The application process is now all online. And Turtle, I'm glad that you put that up there. But here's my next question: have you done it online? Because they always say that stuff. Whenever I got my digital nomad visa. Oh, it's all online. It's simple. You can do it yourself. So, and it's 2 weeks, you'll have your digital nomad visa. That's one of the things about Costa Rica. They're very, very good about marketing how wonderful Costa Rica is. So guess what? I tried to get my digital nomad visa online. It was simple. It was fast. It was cheap. It was impossible. Impossible. I ended up hiring my attorney, she's extremely good, her and her team. And they done it. And with them doing it, it took them 2 months to actually get my digital nomad visa. So while Costa Rica, you're right, Silver Turtle, while Costa Rica is trying to make it easy, what they say and what actually happens is two different stories, okay?
Your Spanish has to be really good for one thing.
Yeah, you definitely need to understand the Spanish. So Douglas asked a question that says, do you have to live in Costa Rica between the time you apply for residency and are notified? No. As soon as you apply, and really, you don't have to be in Costa Rica when you apply. Now, at some point in time, you're going to have to actually bring your paperwork to apply for residency. You're going to have to go to Costa Rica, give it to your attorney, sign papers, okay? You can go home. Then the attorney is going to make sure everything is ready. She's going to submit it. She will submit it, and she will let you know, guess what? It's submitted. You don't have to worry about it, okay? So make sure that you contact me because, matter of fact, if you guys will remind me, I'll put the link to my highly recommended attorney. She's absolutely great, and I'll put the link in the description right after this video so that you can click that link. You'll get a PDF and you can contact her and her team. Christina is absolutely phenomenal, extremely honest, okay? And so we've helped a ton of people through her, all right?
What does Silver Turtle 65 say? No,
He says, no, it's all in Spanish. $300 includes them applying online. So, yeah, it's all in Spanish, he said. And, yeah, I mean, you could pay online, but it's understanding and it's whether you can apply the right paperwork. If you don't have it all, and hey, look, Digital Nomad Visa is one of the easiest ones to apply for. And it still took over 2 months to actually get it. That's insane, okay? So, you've got to get all of your paperwork. There's a lot of steps to getting your residency. because it's not as simple as, supplying your marriage certificate, getting your FBI checks. You got to get all those things apostilled, and then you got to have the paperwork right and submit all. It's not easy to do. Now, can you do it online? Yes, you can, but it ain't going to be easy. And nothing. Wait a minute. Let me see. Have I said this before? Nothing is easy in Costa Rica.
And one of the difficult things that we've experienced with that is that your paperwork is only good for 60 days. I'm sorry, not 60 days, 6 months.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
No, some of it is 3 months, and it does change.
All of it is 6 months. So, but so you have to look that up. But there is a time limit on it. And I think it's 6 months. Pretty sure. But we've applied more than once, and the birth certificate, they make us get our birth certificates again and get them apostilled again. Like, your birth certificate isn't gonna. Why would
it's
it go
not gonna
back?
change?
Why would it
It's
change?
absolutely nuts.
So anyway, it's little things like that are.
Now, Joe has an interesting question. Well, let me put it this way. Joe has a stinky question. Joe says, here's a question no one ever asked. If the toilet paper doesn't get flushed, where does it ultimately go? Isn't it a biohazard? So, all right, so for those people that don't know, when you come to Costa Rica, and that's why we try to give you all the information about Costa Rica. When you go to Costa Rica, most places don't want you flushing the toilet paper. And there's a lot of wrong reasons why, but the ultimate reason as to why they don't want you flushing the toilet paper is, look, when people put in their septic systems, they'll normally buy the smallest septic system possible, put it in there. Everything goes in that one small septic system. And if you flush toilet paper, it's going to get filled up. And in most places, it's not like you got a Roto-Rooter's going to come suck it all out, clean it all out. Even if there is, they don't want to pay to do that. So most people do not flush their toilet paper. Every place, I don't care whether it's a store, a restaurant, they got the nastiest toilets. It's hardly any place is clean. It's stinky, stinky, stinky. And the reason it's stinky is they got a foul toilet paper right next to the toilet. Foul trash can right next to the toilet. And that's where you're supposed to put all that nasty toilet paper, okay? And so it stinks in there all the time. And I guess that gets taken out to the trash. Now, there's a lot of people we know in areas where they don't have trash pickup. They're burning that stuff outside. And, boy, that used to just eat Rebecca up.
Yeah, because that stinks when when you're in a neighborhood and everybody's burning their poo-poo paper, I call it.
Yeah, because and it just smolders and it doesn't burn well, and man, that's nasty. So
I never thought about what restaurants and grocery stores and all that. What do they do with
well,
it?
they
Do
obviously
they burn it, or they just put it at the side of the road?
I bet they put it on the side of the road for the trash trucks to pick up. So hey, in my opinion, I think you're right there, Joe. It would be a biohazard. You got this nasty crap. No pun intended. You got nasty crap going out to the landfills and all that stuff. So anyway, it is something.
So we're not sure, but we've never come across that.
Yeah.
As far as like when traveling, we haven't seen a landfill or smelled a landfill or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, seeing it's like, we were talking about all those documents, and Doug, he was getting ready to do his residency, and he got all of his docs. He got them impossible. Now they're expired. More time, more money, and that's a pain. It is. Now, it's amazing to me, Costa Rica, I've been looking at several different places doing research, and, there's a lot of places. Well, Panama's one. You can get your residency quick and easy. Paraguay is one. You can get your residency. It's about the same cost, but it's really, really easy to get, and it's not ridiculous. So there's a lot of places you can get residency. Now, obviously, I don't live there. I just like to compare and learn. But, there's a lot of places it's very easy. I don't know why Costa Rica makes it so difficult to get your residency. If they wanted to really boost the economy, they would make it easier for people to come and get their residency.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, and they tried to remedy that for working people like we are with the digital nomad.
But it had its downfalls.
Exactly. It has its downfalls. It's expensive,
and you have to renew it every year, which
right,
that was just another expense.
Another year. Whereas, okay, now you can stamp out every 180 days. save your money, take a little vacation once every 6 months to keep,
Yeah.
rather than going through that whole process. And they want you to redo your paperwork. It's not like just renew it, like just pay the fee, right? You got to reprove everything.
Yeah, you
get
got to
your
reprove. It's
paperwork
not like you
again.
just pay the fee and you get another year. No, you have to supply all of that paperwork over again. It's like
you
really?
had gotten yours,
Yeah.
and then it came up for expiration. It was expired, and you chose, because we weighed out the pros and cons. You chose not to renew
to
the
do it.
digital nomad. It costs more than just.
Yeah. So it's like, and like Silver Turtle is saying, he's like, well, yeah, you need a criminal background check from your country, okay, and you do have to. And either property in your name in Costa Rica, Social Security, income proof. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to have. So Silver Turtle, I'd like to hear from you. Have you applied online? I would like to hear from you. I'd love for you to apply online, keep up with us, let me know, and let's find out how long it takes for you to actually get it, and let's find out how easy or difficult is it. Because, hey, Costa Rica does want to make it easier. It just not.
And one of the hangups that caused us to need to use the attorney was the paperwork has to be translated into Spanish, and it has to be done well.
Yeah, it has to be done by an official translator.
Right,
you can't just go
get
to your buddy.
Friend to, we tried, and that doesn't fly. You have to get it professionally, and they charge a lot per page.
Yes, we submitted. Even the digital nomad visa submitted all of these documents to prove income that I'm a digital nomad. And then look, we're talking about invoices or PDFs showing the statement, and it was crazy high to translate numbers into Spanish.
It's numbers.
Wait, aren't numbers the same?
Are the same. So it would be pretty much just translate. How do you translate like
Six
Bank of
is
America
six.
or
right?
You just translate the name of the bank. The date's going to be the same. The numbers are going to be the same, but they wanted a lot of money just to
translate the figures from my bank account.
It's like, never mind.
Forget it.
Stamp out every 180 days. Go spend our money elsewhere instead of spending it in Costa Rica.
So, bottom line on all of that is you do want to be very, very, very careful. Because people will make it sound like it's a whole lot easier. Oh, I can do it for you. I got a hookup. And you're going to end up spending a ton of money, and you're not going to get it back because you have no resource. So, hey, let's go back to what are some of the reasons that you have to, what are some of the reasons that you have to actually go to Louisiana to get your, things that you need. One of the things is if you're going to buy any kind of high-tech stuff, well, you need to go to Louisiana. You need to go back to the United States. Because if you buy any kind of computers, any kind of high-tech stuff, it's normal. You just can't. It's crap. In Costa Rica, it's to get a good Apple computer. Matter of fact, I'm picking up a brand new Apple computer for a friend because matter of fact, this particular one, it's a Mac Mini. I don't think you can actually get that in Costa Rica because I'm sure you might could order it, but it would take a long time for it to come. So it's better just to go to the United States, pick it up. So anyway, there's a lot of reasons why you need to go to the United States or you need to go to your home country. One of the reasons you need to go to your home country, obviously, is so that, like if you got to get your driver's license. If you're trying to get residency, you will have to go back to your home country to get some of this paperwork. But, the attorney that I recommend, they actually have a service where they can do some of that for you. So let's say that you are in Costa Rica. Well, they actually have a service where they can get some of that stuff for you to save you a trip back home if you don't want to go home. So what are some other reasons why you absolutely just need to go back to your home country if you're not a resident in Costa Rica, or if you're living in Costa Rica? What are some of the reasons that you need to go back to your home country?
Well, I know some of the reasons that you don't have to, if I can say those.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
You do not have to go back to your home country. Well, we can only speak about the U.S. I don't know about other countries. But we can renew our passports at the U.S. Embassy.
That's good, right?
Right. That was good. Our passports expired. We had 10-year passports and expired while we were in Costa Rica, and we did not have to make a trip back.
And that was nice.
The embassy handled the whole thing. We, they have notaries there. that they use, and we went for an appointment, did our paperwork, did our pictures, and then they even mailed them to us. We didn't have to go back.
So, okay, now, but while we're talking about renewing your passport, here's something that's very, very important for you to know, okay? So, if you do get your passports renewed, it's one of the most silly things in the world, and I'm shocked that the United States does it. But if you get your passport renewed, okay, then the new passport is going to have a different passport number. You would automatically assume that if you renew your passport, that you're going to have the same passport number, but that's not the case. So you want to make sure that you hold on to your old passport. They're going to stamp holes into your old passport, okay? It's supposed to show that it's not good anymore. But they just stamp punch a couple of holes. But it's really, really important that you keep your old passport, because when we first came to Costa Rica, we bought a motorcycle. A couple of years later, we bought a car. Well, all of those items that you buy, big ticket items like that, well, it's put in your passport number. Well, there's going to be times when you need to show that passport to prove it's actually yours. And if you throw away that old passport, you can't prove it's actually yours. So it's really, really important. And people don't talk about that.
Bank account as well. In the U.S., we're used to everything being under our Social Security number. We hardly use our passport number for anything. But Social Security number is what it goes by. But when you're in a foreign country, in Costa Rica, they use, like you were saying, the passport number for everything. So even your bank account. I remember when we got ours renewed, I had to carry my old one till I got the paperwork changed, because I had to make a deposit even into my Costa Rican bank account. I had to show my passport, and I had to show them my old one until I got everything changed over to the new one.
And look, it's not as easy as, here's my old passport, here's my new passport. Man, you got to go through this paperwork and all this time for them to, it's just everything takes longer in Costa Rica, and you have to realize that, okay? So it's one of those bad things, that bureaucratic red tape takes forever. Everything is slow, and you can talk to 10 different people, get 11 different answers. So it's one of those things that you have to realize, and it's okay. It's like Rebecca reminded me early. Not trying to scare you, just trying to prepare you. If you're coming over here and you're going to be retired, know that everything takes a long time. Which brings up what Silver Turtle said. He's like, I've been coming to Costa Rica for 26 years, and he's wait a minute. Remember, he started off. You can just do it online. It's easy. Been coming to Costa Rica 26 years, and he had his lawyer do all the work, and it took 4 months. Hey, Silver Turtle, I'm so glad, because what you did was you just verified exactly what we said.
Even though it's possible. It's kind of like your income tax, your federal income tax. It's possible to do it online and all by yourself, but most people hire a CPA
because it's not easy. And it's like Silver Turtle saying, he's been coming for 26 years. And while he says, it's easy, well, you can do it. But even he said, nope, I'm giving it to my lawyer. And it took 4 months. Yeah, Costa Rica says it's easy, it's cheap. Well, it's not. It's very, very difficult. Thank you so much for sharing that, Silver Turtle. It's part of being in Costa Rica. Yes, you can do it, but it is a pain in the butt. So guess what? While they say you can do it, you probably can't do it by yourself. Your attorney is going to do it for you, and it's going to cost you.
The whole passport thing is like a United States thing. Like you said, I'm really shocked that they changed your passport number.
I would have never.
Seems like,
you get your driver's license, right?
Right, your driver's license number doesn't
change. Stays
the
same,
your
right?
Social Security number doesn't change, but your passport, they give you a new passport number.
And that is amazing. So, living in Costa Rica, you do got to keep in mind, life can be very, very good in Costa Rica, but you got to always be friendly. Like, look, just before we came here, I've been hassling with trying to get my car inspected through DECRA, okay? And, DECRA, it used to be Retive, but it's just getting a yearly inspection. And, of course, keep in mind, I got an old car, so it's more of a hassle because we have an old car. But it's kind of what Eduardo is saying right here. He says you can live in Costa Rica with no problem, but you got to be an actor. You got to stay away from trouble. You got to be cool like a Tico, right? So absolutely, when I went to the DECRA station, I failed the first time, and so I said I can go back for reinspection, but you not had to make an appointment. It's always busy, but you don't make an appointment for the reinspection. I go back for reinspection, and then the security guard comes up and says, "You have an appointment?" I'm like, "No, they told me this is just going to be re-inspected. Had a little problem, got it fixed, got to be re-inspected." "Oh, sorry, you got to have you got to make an appointment." I said, "Well, they told me I don't need an appointment." "Well, you have to have an appointment when we're busy." "Well, when are you not busy?" "Well, I don't know, but you have to have an appointment." I mean, that makes no sense at all, right? So,
but once you get past that security guard, I was with you. I drove the car, you drove the motorcycle, and once you get past that, the people behind the scenes there, they say you don't need an appointment.
That's
but then
right.
You come back around, that security guard will not let you in unless you have an appointment.
So it's a hassle. I mean, it's like you said.
And then she ended up going online for him.
After about the third time.
They weren't busy. There was one call.
Back. It was hilarious. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. They open up. I was there 20 minutes to 6. There was already 4 people in line going. And of course, I didn't have an appointment because they tell me I don't need an appointment. And so I'm like, I'm going early so that it's like they're not busy. There's nobody there. 4 cars. I get there. She comes up to the car, and I'm like, oh no, the devil's coming to the car. And she's like, "You have an appointment?" I'm like, "No, they told me I don't need an appointment for a reinspection." "Yes, you got to have an appointment when they're busy." I said, "Well, that's why I came early, why they're not busy." So she actually took out her phone, actually made the appointment for me on the phone, asked my email address, and she says, "Okay, you got an appointment for now. Go."
and you may be wondering, well, why don't y'all just make an appointment? Why don't we just make an appointment? Because we live it's a 3-hour drive from where we live. You never know if there's going to be a mudslide. You never know if there's going to be a tree fall.
Well, and if I make an appointment, it's like 2 weeks away. She made an appointment, and then she can make an appointment right then and there. Right. So for her, she doesn't even work there. She's just security. She was adamant that I had to have an appointment so she could go on and she could make me an appointment right then and there. And I went in. So
and it's because of 6 o'clock appointment. I mean, you were already in San Ysidro. Right. You had spent the night because of your job.
I was inspecting the house, spent the night, got up early.
We're trying to make an appointment. We're not going to make one for 6 a.m. because that would mean we'd have to leave the house at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to a 6 o'clock. But apparently those 6 a.m. appointments are available.
Yeah.
So
apparently, but hey,
the whole thing is that for the reinspection, we did the appointment and spent the night and everything for the initial inspection, but they tell you don't have to have an appointment.
Okay, so which brings me back to what Eduardo was saying right here. Okay, and so what Eduardo was saying, you got to be an actor. As aggravated as I was, I had to be cool, calm, collective. I had to be an actor. That's what Eduardo was saying. I had to be an actor. I had to be like, oh man, bummer deal. That's why I came so early. I had to be cool. There's a lot of people who think that if they get mad, if they scream, if they holler, I got rights. They said I didn't have to. I don't have to have. That's a real. I promise you, I would never. My car still would not be inspected.
No, you might voice it like that on the podcast when we're talking, but in reality, if you were to show your disappointment or your discouragement, your aggravation, if you show that, they'll get you.
Yeah, and they're very passive aggressive because they're not going to get mad back at you. So if you get ugly, you show your aggravation, you roll in your eyes. She's gonna be like, that dude ain't never gonna get his car passed over here.
It's kind of like when you see people in the U.S. go through the drive-through or they're in a restaurant and they're complaining about, they're just like Karens, or just, no offense if you're on there, Karen, but you know what I mean. It's become the, not you, but that.
For those Karens that are a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that have become that, that's the poster child name, I guess is what you would call it. But, every time I see that, I'm thinking, man, they have never worked in a restaurant. They have no clue. They're going to get spit in their food. They're going to get something in their food.
Yeah, so
it's just not smart to do that.
You just have to remember, if you come into Costa Rica, even when you get your residency, even if you at some point you get your citizenship, I don't care. You're white. You're from another country. You're always going to be a guest in their country. And while there's a lot of things I don't like about Costa Rica, there's a ton of things I love about Costa Rica. So I've learned, and it's taken me a while. I've learned I respect the country. I respect the people, whether I like them or not. It's their country. It's their custom. I'm never going to change them. There's a lot of things that they could do to make their country better. But you know what? It's not my place to tell them what they can do to make their country better. They've been doing it like that since Costa Rica was born. Okay.
And like we were saying when we were coming here, we say that the U.S. is better in a lot of ways, but a lot of the conveniences and the so-called improvements that are here, it makes things not so great.
Well,
it's
here's a common saying, boy, I can make Costa Rica so much better. And that's kind of a comment that would come from an American, or would come from an old version of me. Man, look at all this crap. When I'm president, I'll make Costa Rica better. Well, no, if Americans had control of Costa Rica would be just another concrete jungle. While you might have some beautiful tourist areas and all that, it would all be about the mighty dollar, and it wouldn't. The whole reason Costa Rica is so phenomenal, the whole reason Costa Rica is so nice, in my opinion, is that indeed it is like being 20 years back. Yes, they are way behind the times, but you know what? I love it's that away.
That's why we came. We like that. In fact, we didn't like when we started seeing everybody having cell phones. Everybody started being, now you go in the bank. We were talking about that last week or the week before, how you go in the bank and everybody is just on their cell phone. It used to be when you go into the bank, everybody was chit-chatting with each other. Everyone was visiting. So, I hate seeing some of those modern, or what we might call improvements, technical things, because it's taken away from the charm.
Yeah.
And,
Costa Rica is changing a lot. Now, here's a good question. It comes up from Karen, not from a Karen.
Yeah, that's why I said, sorry, you're not one of those Karens.
Karen asks, are there opportunities to volunteer? And absolutely, there are a lot of places that you can volunteer. Matter of fact, there's been something that's been rolling around on my mind. There's a lot of places that you can volunteer, and namely, there are a lot of wildlife refuge centers, and they need volunteers so that they can help out with restoring these animals back to health and back into the wilderness. There are a lot of, I want to say, eco-type communities that are growing up. They're always looking for volunteers. And like I was saying, what's been on top of my mind is, once I get my off-grid homestead going, I would like to start an animal rescue center. I don't know what are all of those requirements, but I know that if we start an animal rescue center, because we're right in the jungle, it would be a great place to where we could go and pick up injured animals, restore them back to life, and then get them right back into the jungle, because we're in the jungle, right? So it'd be perfect for us.
Yeah,
something I would love to do.
Yeah, I would love to see the enforcement of the no killing laws
and the no hunting, right?
No hunting,
because there's people that hunt in our area, and I would love that they would have more people out there to enforce the no hunting, right?
I'm not against hunting for for food, which you kill, but in these modern times, there's really there's no reason to, and a lot of the animals are endangered.
And I know of a lot of churches that have volunteer programs where they're going out into the local communities and they're helping some of the locals with, whether it's in their homes or whether it's, there's a lot of opportunities for volunteering in Costa Rica, for giving back to the community if you look for them, okay?
And there are places that take in dogs, because, I don't know, it's just not a thing in the rural areas. Now, like we were in San Jose, catching our flight, so we spent the night there. We were there, and we saw lots of, in that neighborhood that we stayed in kind of a posh little neighborhood, and lots of people walking their fur babies, and they're all groomed with their little bows and their little shaved butts, and you know, and they're carrying their
doggy bags
doggy
to
poo-poo
pick up after
bags. You have
behind
to
them.
pick up. So you know, we're not talking about San Jose and the surrounding metropolitan area. We're talking about out in the rural area. It's not. It's like not a thing to fix, to neuter or spay your spay your animal.
Most people just, they're not going to,
Right.
they don't bring their animals
So
to
there's
the
a
vet.
lot of
You know,
unwanted, neglected and unwanted animals. I can remember seeing a dog with his parts, and it was shocking to me because being in the U.S., I hardly ever saw a dog that had
how
his,
dare him be walking around in all that nudity, right?
had all his parts, because almost all of them. But anyway, there are places, people that have come to Costa Rica that have money, and there may be some Chicos too, but I know of foreigners that come and they open up a refuge for rescue
dogs, and they help dogs and stuff like that. Now,
we've seen a few that, man, I wish we would have had the place and the facilities to
there's
take
a lot
them
of
in.
hungry dogs out there. Karen says, she'd love to be able to help out and volunteer in some of those things. And there are some orphanages. Now, I don't know whether or not they allow volunteering in orphanages. I know that's a little different scenario, but hey, there are lots of ways. And check out what Randy said.
Foster parenting.
Randy, there's foster parenting. I don't know, we've heard about foster parenting, have thought about foster parenting, and so of course we got to get our house set up. But anyway, there's lots of ways that you can help out. And Randy says there's an organization that helps children with school supplies. He forgets the name, and he says he could probably research it and find it again. So there's lots of ways that you can give back to the community, right?
In fact, our friends that are missionaries over on the Panamanian, they're close to the Panama border with Costa Rica, they have that once a year, a school drive. And they collect, like people from the United States send money, and they get them backpacks and their school supplies and stuff like that. So that's a once a year drive that they do in that area.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of poor children out that way.
Out that way. There's and they're helping people on the border in Panama and stuff. Yeah. And they're helping the indigenous people.
The indigenous people is mostly what they.
But
because the indigenous people weren't always like it's within modern times, recent times, that they are even going to the public schools. They weren't being educated in the public schools. I mean, since we've been in Costa Rica, it was a big newspaper news event that one of the indigenous women had gone to college and got her medical license. Like she was like the first. Mm-hmm. That was in the last 10 years. So now the indigenous people go to the public schools.
So now here's something that maybe we should be aware of, and maybe Karen can elaborate. She says she was planning on coming in August, but the CDC warned us not to due to, I think she says, screw worms. I don't know what screw worms are, and it might be a typo. So maybe you can elaborate. And so those are things, really.
I did read an article.
Did you read something about that?
I can't remember the details of it.
So it's always worth to, before you come to do so. A lot of
being just Costa Rica, if I remember right, it was like.
Well, a lot of times, if you're planning on coming, it's always good to check the embassy website. The embassy website is usually on top of, hey, be careful because this is what's going on. There's a little bit more violence in this area or that. So going to your embassy website, or the United States Embassy website for sure, that's what we go to. I don't know about others.
Right. They'll even tell you stuff like if there's a picketing going on, like protesting going on. They have that information at the website.
Right. Okay, so Karen says that they're like horseflies and they lay their larvae. So and she said that because they have dogs. She was talking about bringing some dogs. So okay, so I can understand that, Karen. And it's really not a great big. She says this can be deadly for dogs. So I can consider the concern there. Because, we have lots of horseflies, and the horseflies are always bad during the rainy season. So if you're going to be coming anytime from May to about October, the horseflies are kind of crazy. But look, the horseflies, that's only if you're going to be taking those dogs anywhere where it's a wilderness, the jungle. If you're not going to
Yeah,
be
but this screwworm is a different thing.
okay, so
It's
but
not horseflies.
well, no, yeah, but from what she was saying, it's the horseflies that lay that. I think she says they're like horseflies and they lay their larvae. So I don't know, but anyway, it's always good to be careful and check those things, But anyway, in most cases, back to the reasons that you would go back to your home country, there's not a whole lot of reasons why you would come back, especially once you get your residency. When you get your residency, there's not a whole lot of reasons that you need to go back, because once you have your residency, then it really does make life easier. Life in Costa Rica becomes a whole lot easier when you get your driver's license. And now you can get your driver's license before you even get your residency. And it makes it a lot easier, because when you get stopped to get a ticket and you show that transit cop, that traffic cop, that license, well, he thinks you're a resident. He thinks you live here. He thinks you're invested. And it makes it so much easier for you, because hey,
you can get it on application, even though it might take 2 years or more for your residency.
It could take you a long time to get your residency. If you have your driver's license, then that kind of negates and that stops a lot of hassle, because I had my digital nomad visa, and the guy gave me a ticket because he says you haven't stamped out in 90 days. I didn't need to stamp out. That was the whole purpose for the digital nomad visa, and I still got a ticket, and that was a hassle. I didn't have to pay it, but still it was a hassle. I had to go through all of this crap because he was a turd policeman. He didn't know what he was talking about. But it's just a lot of things that can make your life so much easier when you do have residency. You do have that driver's license. Because the reality is, you don't. When you're in Costa Rica, like I said, if you're a citizen or resident, you're still a guest in the country. You don't really have a lot of benefits to being a resident. It does make your life a little bit easier, but there's just not a lot of benefits.
It's a lot more relaxing.
It's a lot more relaxing. I mean, because used to you couldn't get a bank account, you couldn't get internet. There's a lot of things you couldn't get unless you were a resident.
So
but
they are
now,
gradually working on those things, changing them.
Now you can get internet. Starlink has solved a lot of problems for people. Used to you couldn't get a phone. Well, now you got different companies, like Liberty,
you can get a plan.
Yeah, and now you can get a plan. You can go to Liberty. They don't care whether you're, they now have other companies, because used to all the electricity, all this stuff was through the government, and while the electricity is still through the government, you can get electricity, because most of the time you're going to be renting or something. So anyway, so there's a lot of things that you can't get, and they make it that way because they want you to become a resident if you're going to live in the country. Totally can understand that, because they want you to pay taxes. Okay.
Now it's getting close to time, and I thought of another reason why you would want to go back to the United States.
Tell me one of the reasons why.
Go back to your home country. If you are a tall person and need clothes.
Yes.
I know that sounds funny, but the clothing selection is geared towards they catering to, of course, the people who live there, and a lot of people are under, what would you say, under 6 feet? Most
people are under 5 feet.
No.
They're like you.
No.
A lot of Costa Ricans are indeed short.
Yeah,
so
like I'm only 5 feet, and I'm like average. It seems like I hardly ever am the shortest person when we go somewhere. Whereas in the United States, I was always the shortest.
We've seen a lot of Ticos shorter than you.
Yeah. So it's almost like I'm average.
Yeah. So it's a little bit more of a challenge for taller people in Costa Rica.
If you're 6 feet and over, I don't know that you could find pants.
Well, I have a hard time finding shoes, because I got big feet, big hands, big feet, And so for me to get a pair of shoes, a size 11 shoe, it's very difficult for me to find big shoes.
Yeah, because the majority of the what is the word I'm looking for? The people who live in Costa Rica
most of the locals living in Costa Rica are short. They're small people.
Yeah, tiny people.
Yeah. So hey, we are getting close to that hour. Time just flies when you're having fun. So if we haven't answered your question, now's a good time to put your questions in the chat box, and now's really a good time to let you know that next week we will be traveling on Sunday. So we're going to have to postpone or cancel next Sunday's live Q&A and live, Unbridled Living in Costa Rica to the following Sunday. But the following Sunday, I'm going to be talking about the dangers of you actually coming to Costa Rica. Because there's a lot of people that I say coming to Costa Rica. What I meant to say is once you've been living in Costa Rica for a while, and when I say a while, it could be 6 months, could be a year. It's usually you've been living in Costa Rica for more than a year. Then you go back to the United States or back to your home country. There's a danger of you not coming back. And I'm going to be talking about that. What happens? Why is it a lot of people don't come back to Costa Rica after they've been here a year and then they go back to their home country? We're going to be talking about that and much more on the next Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Just some, things to be thinking about in order to prepare you for life in Costa Rica. So, hey, we're one of the very few, if not the only channel that has live Q&A every single week to try to help you with your transition, help you with relocating to Costa Rica, help you with understanding real unbridled living in Costa Rica facts. So, hey, I think that's about it. I don't see any more. People are saying thank you very much for the helpful information. We want to thank you for attending live with us. You make our time go by like that. You make our time fun. So, hey, we're going to get our driver's license. I hope she can pass the test.
Oh, that's something I forgot to say. You can get your Costa Rican driver's license using your home country driver's license. You don't have to take the test in Costa Rica, like their licensing test, if your driver's license is not expired.
That's
which
right.
is one of the reasons we really wanted to come and make sure ours wasn't expired, because we're going to try to get our
Costa Rican driver's license in.
But if our license are expired, then you got to do the Spanish test and the Costa
she
Rican.
might not ever pass because her Spanish is horrible. No, actually, it's my Spanish. My English is horrible, so I could never pass.
I wouldn't want to take the U.S. driver's license test again.
So anyway,
that's something to think about. When we used to think that we had to keep our United States driver's license active so that we could rent a car when we come home for when we come to the U.S. for visits, but that's not true. If you have a Costa Rican driver's license and you come to the United States to visit, you can rent a car using your Costa Rican or any
driver's license. Yeah, but you got to have that driver's license, okay? And that rental car insurance thing is really just, it's really, you can be very careful. It could be a scam because they always want you to get this and get that. They want to tack on all of this insurance. So I went through there and they're like, "Do you need insurance?" I'm like, "No."
But you do have to have a valid driver's license.
You do have to have a valid driver's license.
If we would have let our driver's license expire,
yeah,
and thinking, "Oh well, we don't need it. We'll just and we don't have our Costa Rican driver's license.
Yeah.
And when we come here for visits, we cannot rent a car, not under our name."
Folks, until next time, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, salute. Enjoy your Code Islands apple juice. And I can't wait, because we're going to be talking about some of those dangers of visiting the United States after you've lived in Costa Rica and a lot of other great things.
We're going to be spending time with our children and our grandkids.
I'm going to have fun.
Brothers and sisters.
Visiting
aunts and
family.
uncles.
But we won't be here long and we're heading back. So, folks, enjoy another great week. Can't wait to see you next time on the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. See you, folks.
Ciao.